Right now, you're reading this because one specific species of human made it and every other one didn't. But that outcome wasn't guaranteed. For over 300,000 years, Neanderthals thrived across Europe and Asia. They survived ice ages, hunted massive animals, and outlasted multiple waves of climate change that would kill off most large mammals. Then, about 40,000 years ago, they vanished. But what if they hadn't? What if Neanderthals had survived instead of us? First, let's clear up the biggest myth. Neanderthals weren't dim-witted brutes dragging clubs. Their brains were actually slightly larger than ours on average. They made complex tools, controlled fire, buried their dead with apparent ritual, and there's growing evidence they created cave art and wore jewelry made from eagle talons and shells. They weren't a failed draft of humanity. They were a fully successful species that thrived for hundreds of thousands of years, far longer than modern humans have existed so far. So if they were that capable, why imagine they'd win instead of us? Here's the science-backed case. Neanderthals were built for cold. Their bodies were shorter, stockier, and more muscular than ours, an ideal shape for retaining heat in freezing climates. Their noses were larger, likely built to warm and humidify frigid air before it hit their lungs. In a world where ice ages hit hard and often, that physiology isn't a disadvantage. It's a survival tool. A surviving Neanderthal lineage might have pushed further into brutal environments that early Homo sapiens struggled to handle. Now imagine the technology angle. Neanderthals independently made specialized tools like the Mousterian stone toolkit, refined over tens of thousands of years for hunting, hide preparation, and woodworking. If they'd had another 40,000 years of uninterrupted development instead of being absorbed or outcompeted, some researchers speculate their technological trajectory could have paralleled our own, just slower, shaped by smaller, more dispersed populations, rather than the large, interconnected trade networks that helped Homo sapiens spread ideas fast. That population difference is actually the leading theory for why we're the ones still here. Not intelligence, numbers. Homo sapiens lived in larger, more connected social groups, allowing faster idea exchange, faster tool improvement, and faster cultural evolution. In a world where Neanderthals survived instead, their smaller, more isolated communities suggest a slower-moving civilization, not a less capable one, just a less centralized one. Picture scattered, resilient settlements instead of sprawling cities. Innovation's still happening, just at a different pace and shape. Here's where it gets genuinely strange. We know Neanderthals and Homo sapiens interbred. Most people with European or Asian ancestry today carry somewhere between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA. In a timeline where Neanderthals thrived instead of vanishing, that genetic mixing likely still would have happened, just in the opposite direction. Instead of Neanderthal genes surviving in a Homo sapiens world, imagine Homo sapiens genes surviving in a Neanderthal one. The dominant species might carry cold-adapted bodies, larger noses, and heavier brow ridges as the genetic norm, with our version of humanity as the rare genetic footnote. What about culture and thought? Neanderthal brains had a larger visual processing area than ours, according to skull studies, which some researchers link to potentially superior night vision and spatial awareness, useful traits for a species built to survive in dim, cold, resource-scarce environments. Some scientists speculate a Neanderthal-dominant world might have developed differently around sensory experience and environmental adaptation, rather than abstract, long-distance trade and rapid symbolic culture, though this remains firmly in the realm of educated speculation, not established fact. Would they have built cities? Would they have reached space? Nobody can answer that with certainty. The fossil record shows capability, not destiny. What we do know is that Neanderthals were not a lesser evolutionary attempt. They were a parallel experiment in being human, one shaped by ice, cold-adapted bodies, and tight-knit communities, instead of Homo sapiens' larger networks and rapid expansion. Their extinction wasn't inevitable. Climate shifts, competition for resources, small population sizes, and interbreeding into the Homo sapiens gene pool all likely played a role, and researchers still debate exactly how much weight each factor carried. So the next time you see a Neanderthal depicted as a grunting caveman in the background of a museum diorama, remember this: they survived longer than we have so far. They adapted to conditions that would kill most of us instantly. And in some other version of this planet's timeline, one small shift in climate or competition, they might be the ones sitting here right now, imagining what it would have been like if we had survived instead of them.